Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this morning's Wolters Kluwer webinar. As an introduction to Wolters Kluwer, solutions for today and innovations for tomorrow. So solutions for today, we're going to be showing you our on-premise CCH Central accountancy suite, which includes accounts, tax, practice management, time, billing, document management, all the things that you will need to efficiently run your accountancy practice. And then innovation for tomorrow. We're going to be talking a little bit about our development and our roadmap to a cloud solution. So moving everything that we have today in our on-premise solution over to a cloud solution. And we'll be talking a little bit about the roadmap for that. When we come to do a demonstration, we'll also be showing you some screens of that, so you'll get an insight as to how that's going to be looking over the next few months. So this session this morning is going to last for about an hour. There is a Q&A, so if you'd like to ask some questions, please drop a message into the Q&A box, and we'll try and answer as many as we can at the end of the session. And you will get a recording of this at the end as well. Good morning to you all. My name is Ian Morgan. I'm an account manager here at CCH, Wolters Kluwer, and I'm joined this morning by Doug Shoebrook, who is one of our pre-sales consultants, and Doug will be taking you through a demonstration, as I said, of the CCH Central Suite. I think I've already covered the fact that we're going to be giving you an introduction to CCH Central, demonstrating the software, and then talking a little bit about the roadmap and the futures in terms of CCH moving to the cloud on our iFirm platform. So from a CCH Central perspective, I'm sure that many of you who will have been in practice for some time will be aware of CCH. It is a long-standing, mature piece of software that has all the functionality that you need to run your accountancy practice. CCH Central itself is the central database off which all the other modules hang. So it's a fully integrated solution that will have your data in Central, and then that data flows out into the other modules that you can use that when you're preparing your accounts and your tax. Because of that, it has a really strong reporting functionality, which gives you greater insight into the workings of your practice and where you are with jobs, where you are with your WIP and your debt. And Doug will show us this morning how you can tailor your home screens to display the information that you need at any given time at your fingertips, so thereby giving you a greater insight into the current situation of your practice. As I mentioned, it's a single database, and as such, it has standard routines, standard workflows as part of the solution, but those workflows can be customized to suit the workflows of your particular practice. It's worth pointing out that the term CCH Central is in fact the practice management module, so it's where you would expect to have all your client data, where you'd be able to run mail merges, where you'd be able to send emails to your clients, where you would have your workflows, etc., etc. And CCH practice management then becomes the time and the billing modules. So all in all, CCH Central enables you to obviously produce sets of accounts and tax returns, but also manage your practice, and thereby giving you much more efficiency and enabling faster working. I wanted to touch a little bit on the CCH packs, which is a method by which you can purchase CCH Central. We have a couple of different modules. This particular one, which, as I say, we call CCH packs, is based on client numbers. So if you have client numbers up to 2,000 clients and up to 20 staff, then it could very well be that a CCH pack is the right method for you to purchase CCH. We do also have an alternative, which is unlimited clients, and then you buy the users of each individual module that you need. But let's talk a little bit about the packs. Firstly, we have the compliance pack, and included in the compliance pack, as you can see, you have the compliance modules, the tax and accounting modules, the IXBRL, and CCH OneClick, which is our client portal, so that you can send information to your client directly from CCH and ask them to approve and sign documents if that's appropriate. Bolted onto that, you could then decide perhaps CCH practice pack is the more suitable one for yourself. And CCH practice pack includes CCH practice management. And again, I would emphasize that practice management in the CCH world is actually timesheets and billing. And that CCH Central, which is what lots of people would term as practice management, of course, which is, as I've mentioned, the central database and the reporting and the workflows and all those sorts of things, that is CCH Central, and that comes with anything that you buy with CCH. So if you're just buying accounts or you're just buying tax, you will get CCH Central, and of course CCH Central is part of the practice packs. So whether you buy a compliance pack or whether you need time and billing and you go for a practice pack, you could then choose to bolt on the document manager, and the document manager does what it says on the tin. It is a central area where you can store all your documents, whether that be documents that are generated from CCH, such as accounts and tax or mail merge letters, or if they're generated from outside of CCH, so it's an Excel spreadsheet or a Word document, you can choose to store that in CCH Central in the document management module. And of course, you can choose to store emails from Microsoft Outlook. So whether that be something that happens automatically, which you can set up, or whether it's something that you want to choose which emails you store, then either of those two options are available. So that also gives us a good insight into what Doug is going to show us this morning in terms of showing us CCH Central, showing us the compliance modules, how we would prepare a set of accounts and the tax return, and dipping into timesheets, billing, and showing you where the documents will be stored within the CCH Central database. So that is an excellent time and link to introduce Doug Shoebrook, and Doug will take us through a demonstration for the next sort of 40 minutes or so. Good morning, Doug.
Brilliant. Cheers, Ian. Thanks very much. And thanks to you all for coming on to this webinar. So a little bit about myself. So my name is Doug Shoebrook. I'm a pre-sales consultant at Wolters Kluwer. I'm a qualified accountant, so prior to that I was in practice for 6 to 7 years, so kind of know my way around a set of accounts and a tax return. So yeah, I'll be taking you through the suite today, and as Ian mentioned, feel free to ask any questions in the chat and we'll get those answered at the end. So I'll just start by sharing my screen and we'll get into the demo. This will be quite a high level overview, just given the time that we have. So I'll be talking through the sort of main modules within the suite, and we'll start off by talking about our home pages that Ian mentioned as well. So hopefully that my screen is available on yours now, and you can see that.
I can see that, Doug.
Yeah, all good, brilliant. So this is an example of a home screen, and so this is my sort of main dashboard, if you like. And so this shows my aged WIP and my aged debt figures in monetary figures. So if I then wanted to get a list or drill down into that particular list of work in progress or debtors, I can just click within the graph and it will then bring me into this sort of list area where it shows the work in progress that's currently outstanding and when that work in progress was posted, essentially. So you can see that you can quickly drill down from your home page and just get a quick idea as to exactly what balances are outstanding and from when. Now, if I wanted to, I can then use this billing wizard option and I can raise a bill straight from this screen if needed. So, you know, it's just a quick link if you did want to raise a bill from that particular home screen. Just coming back, so you can see it kind of brings up another tab. So typically within CCH, if you do want to access a different module or a different client file, for example, it will just raise another tab similar to a web browser, if you like. It will just open up another tab and you can then access it. You can flick between these different tabs if needed as well. So if you were to be working on, you know, a tax return at the same time as a set of accounts, you can do so. If you were to be doing a group set of accounts, for example, you could have multiple subsidiaries open as well as the parent, and it would then reflect into the consolidation if you were to be working on group accounts, for example. So it's quite a useful sort of feature in the way that the system works, is the ability to switch between these different tabs. So that's the kind of the practice management homepage, really, just kind of looking at it like that. And they're very much customizable, these homepages. So you can see here, just clicking on this view button in the top left corner, I've got 7 or 8 different homepages available, and these are pretty unlimited. I mean, I think usually it's about 5 or 6 that people would tend to have. So just as another example to kind of show workflow, so I'm just going to touch on what this workflow dashboard looks like and talk about workflow for a second. So workflow is essentially a job tracking system that is embedded within CCH Central. So this is a personal tax workflow that you can currently see on my screen. You can see the various steps along the top here. So these are various steps that are needed in order to complete this whole workflow. And you can see they're split out. I've split them out by deadline date, so typically by the year in which they're due. And these are very much customizable, these workflows. So if you were to want to change certain steps, you can absolutely do so using the sort of background area in which you would set up the workflow. You can also right click on any of these sort of ticks that are currently shown, and it will show you the exact deadline date for each step. Now you can also right click and then see who is responsible for each step. So you can see here then which employees would be responsible for each step. And just coming back into my other homepage, just coming into the main dashboard area, just to touch on the task and appointments panel here. So this is essentially each step that I am assigned to then complete. So if I then wanted to, I can look into a particular task or a particular step, and it will then open up that task there. And this is just a step that's involved in that workflow that I've been assigned to then complete. Now, as a manager or as a partner of an accountancy firm, you could come in here and increase the importance, lower the importance, or you could choose to reassign the task to another employee if, for example, the current one was potentially off sick or on annual leave, perhaps. So, each step has got its own area in which you can add comments as well, and increase or lower the importance of those steps. And so workflow, sorry, just going to close that one. So workflow, as just coming back into that workflow dash, you can see here, as I mentioned, this is the personal tax workflow. Just from selecting on the drop-down box, there are a whole range of other workflows. So even if you were to want to use workflows for an external job that didn't involve using CCH, you can absolutely do that. Things like HMRC inquiries, client onboarding, that sort of stuff can all be done, or the workflows can be set up for those types of jobs as well. Now, these workflows are embedded within the different modules as well. So, for example, this is a personal tax workflow, and you will see this workflow within a personal tax return as well. So whilst you're completing the tax return, you can then move on the steps from within that module itself. Likewise, if it were to be an accounts production workflow, you can also move it on from within the accounts production software itself. Cool, so that's workflows. Just going to move it on to an AP dashboard. So this is, for accounts production clients of yours. And essentially what this shows is all of the jobs that you currently have active for accounts production. So within here, you can see you've got a whole list of the different entities that have accounts production periods open at the moment. And if you were to want to, you can go directly into that accounts production period by selecting on the period here. What I'm going to do is just open up a client file. So you can see I'm just going to click onto this blue underlined hyperlink area. And so this essentially means typically around CCH Central that you can drill down into that particular area, or you can access that particular area. In this case, it's going to be the client file. So I'm just going to click onto that now. Now you can see it's just opened up another tab which relates to this specific company. Now this is an FRS 105 type company. We do cater for a whole range of different companies, FRS 102s, sole traders, partnerships, IFRSs, consolidations, LLPs, pensions, academies, quite a broad range of different types of entity. If you were to need any of those specialist formats, we do have those available. So this, as I said, is a FRS 105 type company, and this is the client-centric or client central hub area, I like to call it. So you have got this main tab essentially, and this is really your address information, company reg number, year ends, UTRs, that sort of information all stored in your main tab here. You've got your addresses tab. This is where you'd update any addresses, any phone numbers or email addresses will be stored in here as well. Just touching on this profile tab. So this is really sort of any sort of extra field. So any sort of extra information that you might want to know about your clients can be stored here. So you can see in this profile tab, I've got various different pieces of information that I might need to know on this particular company. A preferred method of contact, for example, what sort of seminar invites that you might want to give them, bookkeeping solutions that they use, and all of this information you can then report on using our reporting section, which is essentially a data mining tool. And we'll look at that a bit later on. I'll just touch on a few other of these tabs. I won't go through every single one right this second, but we'll just have a look at a couple of these other tabs. And this is the associated tab. So this is really any sort of relationships that you would have within this database relating to this specific company. So this is an FRS 105, and you can see you've got a director and an auditor set up in there. Assignment. So this is the practice management side of things. So this will show you any work in progress that's posted for this particular company. And you can see here we've got some unposted WIP. So that's in a timesheet that hasn't been essentially posted or approved yet. We've got some posted WIP and we've got the total in there, and we've also got a budget. So you can see we're quite close to that budget now. And so you can set up budgets, and again, you can report on these fields as well. If you were to need to set up budgets for certain clients and try to not go over them, it's quite a good place a good way of tracking that information. Just moving on to the responsibility side of things. So you have got this area. I mean, it's pretty kind of does as what it says on the tin, really. So this is where you would set up the partner who's responsible for this entity, and what team members are also responsible. So you can also apply team security if you did want to prevent anybody else from accessing that specific client. You can set that up in this area as well. Now the bills tabs really just shows any historic bills. This particular entity hasn't got any, but it would list out any bills that you have sent to this client within this tab here. We're going to look at the accounts production side of things now. So just coming into accounts production tab, I'm just going to double click into the latest period here. And you can see it then just opens up another tab for accounts production. So you can see here, and this is our accounts production home screen. So you've kind of got your trial balance, and the home screen is pretty much at a glance, if you like. So you can see this home screen, you've got your trial balance in the middle. You do also have a trial balance area over here if you wanted to quickly access the trial balance, but as I said, it's kind of at a glance. You've also got your print preview on your right hand side here, and so you can flick through that print preview and just have a look at that last time you did generate that print preview, and just have a look at the set of accounts in that area as well. Now, I did mention that workflow is embedded within the certain modules, and so you can see here at the bottom here, we've got this workflow tab, and this you can see will show you exactly which stage you're currently on that workflow. And if you wanted to, you can complete the milestone from within the accounts production module as well. If you were to be working there, completing certain modules as you go along, completing certain steps as you went along, you can certainly just move on from within here as well. Now the home screen is also where you would come to year end or delete your period up here in the top left corner. You could choose to finalise your account, so prevent any further amendments being made, and you could also set it up so that certain users within CCH are unable to access the undo finalisation of the accounts. And just touching on that, you have got a lot of control over what users can and can't do within CCH. So if you were to want to limit certain areas for certain users, you can absolutely set it up in that manner using our security groups and task permissions. The master pack is quite an important button in the sense that this is the template that is applied to this set of accounts or to this accounting period. And we do have updates quarterly. So we do bring out master packs quite often, maybe twice a year usually. So it's just a case of keeping up to date on the latest version of the software and running the latest version of the master pack. That will then give you the latest disclosure requirements or framework requirements for, in this case, an FRS 105 type company. If you were to want a particular style of master pack and you then wanted to roll that out to all of your entities, we do have a feature in which you can create your own master packs and essentially create your own templates for the accounts that you produce. Great, so just moving on to how you would get some information into the account side of things. So typically it would be done via this import section. There are a few options, so you could choose to post directly from a bank using the receipts and payments option. You can also just type out, if it were to be a small trial balance, for example, you could choose to just type in a journal trial balance if needed. So typically it would be a CSV file import. We do have a few options, as I mentioned. So certain clients who have their bookkeeping software within Xero or QuickBooks, we do have a direct link with those two softwares in this import section. We also have open integration over here. So open integration is essentially a two-way feature that allows you to import the information from Xero, QuickBooks, Exact, and Free Agent. I believe Sage Business Cloud as well. And so if you were to post any journals within CCH, you can then also send those back up into the cloud bookkeeping softwares. So it's a two-way sync that you've got there. So yeah, otherwise, as I said, you've got the Xero and QuickBooks link. Any other software, so the slightly less common softwares, you would typically export a trial balance from those softwares and then come and select it from within here, just to give you an indication as to how that would look. So I've got a CSV file here that I'm importing, and we do have plenty of mapping files for quite a few of the more commonly used bookkeeping softwares in here. So if you were to have a client on Free Agent or Relate, perhaps, we do have those mapping files as standard, which convert those codes from the standard bookkeeping codes in Relate, for example, into the CCH codes. And that would be done. Your external bookkeeping codes would be in this column here, and that would then import into these codes in this column here. Once you select import, that would then take you through into your trial balance. I'm not actually going to do it on this particular occasion. The trial balance takes you through into this area here. Now this just lists out all of the nominal codes with any balances within them. And if you were to want to sort of see what postings were inside those accounts, what you can do is just click within them, and it will just show you the trial balance import line and then any journals that you've done in CCH after that. Now, if you were to then want to see the other side of this particular journal, so if I wanted to see the other side of this £10,000 journal here, for example, what I can do is select onto this transactional ID. And that then takes us through into our view transactions area here. And this is really your audit trail with all of the transactions that are within this accounting period. And if you were to want to, or if you did make a mistake, for example, you can come in here and you can reallocate where these postings have gone to. So that's really your sort of audit trail area. If you were to want to do any adjustments within CCH, so typically it would be an advisor journal, and you would fill out your batch reference and your source reference and description. I won't be doing that on this occasion. What I'll do is just make a quick journal into sales, just to give you an idea as to how the journals look. So on this particular row, I have posted to the sales code, which I know is 0010. I'll just post another 5,000 journal into there. And now what I'll do is also I can search via the actual description of the account as well. So for example, this is the bank current account 1 that I'm after to post into. And it does show me the balance that I'm posting into as well, which is quite useful. Now, once the journal balances, I've then got the ability to then post that journal if needed. So I'm going to post that journal. Now, I could access and look at that journal in my view transactions, as I showed a minute ago, but you can also view it in your view advisor journals area here. And this is really a listing of all of the journals that you've done within CCH. And as you can see, you have got the ability to edit, unpost, or you could go through an approval process for journals as well if you were to want to set it up in that manner. Another good feature within this advisor journals area is this adjusting journals report. So I'm just going to run that off quite quickly now. What this does, it will show you your draft sort of profit as per the trial balance as it was originally imported, and then it will then show you as per the financial statements currently showing after the journals that you've completed within CCH. So it just saves you from having to do a manual process of that. You can then select on close and then you're back into this area. Now that's really how you get your financial information into a set of accounts within CCH. And so if you were to want to then move on to your disclosure side of things, that's all taken care of in the statutory database area. And this is really where you would come in and select on the general information section. Just going to move it over to disclosures. And this, being in FRS 105, there's not huge amounts of information in this disclosure section, but obviously in the FRS 102 type companies and the IFRSs, there's quite a lot of information that goes into the account. So you'll have a much larger statutory database area. But yeah, as I said, the general information is really where you would set up all of the different information on the front cover of the accounts, rounding units, that sort of stuff is all taken care of here. Just touching on this size and audit area, it will just average out the information that you have got within CCH and just give you an indication as to what size accounts it thinks you should be producing based on that information as well. So that's quite useful. And then you can come in and then make those selections in the client preferences area yourself. Now we do have different presentation options when it comes to the balance sheet. So it's just selecting on the right one for your particular entity. And you can add any sort of other notes or any sort of bespoke notes that you might want to add into the accounts. You can do so using the other notes section. So I'm just going to select onto the financial statements area, and this is really where the sort of accounts all come together and you see the output that you've then input. So good place to look when you are coming into the financial statements area is this exception report. And so what this is, it just lets you know and just summarises the selections that you have made in the statutory database. And it will let you know of any missing signatories, any missing dates, any analysis that might need to be done, any sort of rounding differences, that sort of stuff will all be taken care of and shown in this exception report. In certain areas, you can actually click on the statutory item code and it will take you to that relevant place. And from there, you can then preview each individual page. So for example, that's your front cover, that's your company information area, that's your contents. And the contents, the page numbering will be taken care of when you preview the set of accounts. You can then view the accountant's report here. Now, if you were to want to change any of the text, we looked at how you could potentially do it in the statutory database, but you can also do it on the face of the preview here. So this first paragraph, if I then wanted to amend that, I can click within it and it will then bring up the paragraph that relates to that. Now you can see this is quite highly formally driven. You could choose to just strip this out and type in your own version of that paragraph. You can also use that formally to reference certain things like nominal codes or dates, so it can be very useful to use that formally. So if you were to make any changes in the financials, it can then flow through into the notes as well, or the paragraphs. Just moving on to the profit and loss. Now, you can also get a drill down on any of the figures in this particular schedule, and likewise with the balance sheet. If you wanted to see what was included within this other charges area, what I can do is just click within it and it will then show me the nominal codes that are involved in calculating that total figure. If I then wanted to, I can drill down into those different nominal codes as well, just from selecting onto the nominal codes. So you can see then the posting within that code there. And that's really, how you would go about producing your set of accounts. To then get a preview of your accounts prior to going to the tagging side of things, you can just select on preview up here. Runs off a really quick preview for you. You can then see that the contents have been assigned and any sort of note referencing that might need to be done will also be assigned at that point too. Once you are happy with that, you would then go through the tagging process, and that's all taken care of in the Review XBRL area. Now, I won't be going through that section at the moment. It does automatically tag the whole document for you. So if you were to want to submit to Companies House, it will produce that tag document for you. The idea is you shouldn't need to do huge amounts of work within the tagging area. It will apply all of the mandatory tags that you need to submit for you. Now, sending the information over to a corporation tax return. So what you can do is just click into this tax link area here and just select on update tax. So what this will do is just push over the information from the accounts into the corporation tax return. So that's now been sent over, and then to access that, what I would do is just come into this client file area here, and then I can then move on to the tax return. So you can see I've still got my accounts open if I were to want to access it. I've still got my aged WIP from earlier, which I might actually just close that particular tab. So to move on into the tax return side of things, what I would do is just select onto the tax return here and just click into the 2023 period that we're going to look at now. So we'll just have a brief little look at corporation tax, and you can see it will just open up another tab for us for that corporation tax return. Now what I'm going to do is just select update from accounts. It lets us know that we have got accounts production information that is available just in this error and exception panel at the bottom. And so what I can do is just select either on this button, or I could choose to just click onto the error or exception or warning message essentially. That will then bring in that information from our accounts, and then I can then just give it a little second to load in. You can choose to add a profit and loss into your corporation tax return or not. If you do choose to, it will populate with that information. Likewise, the balance sheet analysis comes through from the accounts as well. And you can then choose to add an analysis onto this addition by right-clicking. So if I select onto Insert Analysis, this is where I can then insert my analysis, which then is where I decide on exactly what capital allowances I'll be claiming on this particular addition. Now you can see you do have to reconcile it back to the balance sheet figure, and so you have got that control in place, so that reconciliation must be done before that capital allowance can then be claimed. Great, so just moving on, I'll just touch on a couple of the other areas and more commonly used areas within the corporation tax side of things. So just coming into the trading income area, got your disallowables area here. Now, I have entered this myself, so you can see that you can just come in here and enter any disallowable amounts. You might need to disallow from the accounts in here. Your depreciation will come through automatically, but everything else is just a case of either typing in the description or selecting from the drop-down box a various different type of expense that you then want to disallow. And then you've really just got the ability to come through and just enter in various pieces of information, like so for provisions, and here you would enter various different data fields, and that would then update the computation accordingly. So it's just a case of entering the information into these different sections within corporation tax. You do get a summary of the capital allowances here as well, and it breaks it down into the different types of capital allowances that you might be claiming. Now, when it comes to viewing the actual calculation of your corporation tax, what you can do is come into the summary area, just an example. You can see the corporation tax that's outstanding, and this will automatically update when you do enter the information into the various sections. You can also view the computation. If you want a much more detailed computation, you can select View and then Computation, and then it will bring it out in sort of a Word document format, in which you can then interrogate that calculation if you do need to. So just going to close that tab down. You can also view the tax return as the actual form that will be submitted to HMRC. I'm just going to zoom out of there a little minute. And so what you can do is flick through the various different pages. And if you were to want to populate a particular box and you weren't exactly sure on how to access it via the data navigator, as you know, it might be the case during the initial sort of time you might use CCH. Over time you will get to know the various different sections, but to begin with, perhaps if you weren't sure on how to populate a box, what you can do is just right click and it will take you to that relevant place in which to enter the information to populate that box. So it's just a handy little different way of navigating around the corporation tax software. Now, just going to touch on the tax journal. And so what this allows you to do is essentially post the journal back into the accounts from corporation tax. And so you just select onto the tax journal, just saves you from having to make this posting manually. So it shows you the accounts that it's going to post it back to, and the amount that will then be posted to then populate the accounts with that corporation tax liability journal. So that's really the process. Once you're happy with everything and you're happy with the calculation, you can select on the online filing button. That will then take you through. You can add any attachments that you might need to add, it will go through the validation checks, and then you can then go ahead and submit your corporation tax return. So that's the process of a small limited company. Just coming back into this accounts production tab, and just coming back into the financial statements area now. Now what I'm going to do is just show you our one-click feature. And so one-click, essentially a message and documents sending receiving system. So you can click into this publish to one-click button. What this will then do is bring up an email-like template, if you like. So what you can then do, it will then attach your accounts, and then you can then decide as to whether or not you want those e-signed or approved by that particular client. And you have got the ability to just insert a template, and there are plenty of sort of standard default messages that you can send the accounts with, and these can all be tailored to how your practice wants to essentially word these particular messages. So I'm just going to select insert on that, and you can see it will then bring through things like the year-end date for you in this particular message. Now, if I then wanted this particular client to then e-sign this, what I can do is select on the paperclip here, and it will then show me, the folder in which this will be saved into, and whether or not I want it approved or e-signed. Now I'm just going to go for an e-sign, and I'm just going to add the signature. Now it might be that there are multiple directors of this company. In this case, there isn't. But you could have multiple signatures applied to this set of accounts. I'm just going to select OK on that. Oh yeah, sorry, I just need to add that signature. And this is where it opens up the e-signatory software, and you can then decide exactly where you want that individual to sign this set of accounts. So I'm just going to scroll down and just get to the directors signing the financial statements. And it might be that I want them to sign exactly here, and then I can then move that. They can then decide to have it there if they wanted to, and they can also add a date next to that if needed. And you can then just drag that exactly where you want it to be signed. So just going to select save and return. So that document is now ready to be sent for e-signatory to this particular client. So I'm just going to select on send. That will then go away, and then what will happen is I'll show it from a client's perspective. So just bear with whilst that sends. Brilliant, so that's now sent. So this is the sort of document that they would receive, or this is the email message that they would receive, essentially just saying that they have got a document that's waiting for approval, specifically the accounts. They can then click on the link from their personal email, and that will then take them log into CCH OneClick. Now each client will have to activate their own OneClick account and provide their own password. So just going to select into my password. And I will have to just get a code, I believe, so just bear with whilst that comes through. Cool, so 316, 395. So that's now logging into this account. This is from a client's perspective, so they would then come into their messages and documents area here. You can see that the actual individual has documents to approve, but this is the one that relates to the company here. So you can see that they're clearly split out. They can then come in and then do those e-signatories on that set of accounts. So all they would do is just come into here, select on the signatory. This is a signatory that they would essentially write on the computer screen themselves as and when they do sign up. Likewise with the date, they can then select e-sign and submit. And that then has been approved, or e-signed in this case. Now I will then receive an Outlook message, just let me know that the client has signed that document, and it will also appear within CCH Central as well. So, so that's really the sort of approval process and our one-click process as well. Now what I'm going to do is just talk about an individual's record now. So what I'm going to do is just, first of all, I'm just going to close all of these current tabs. And what I can do is just come into my client list. And if I were to want to search for an individual's record, I can just search for the client name. Then I can then just double click into that client name. And this being an individual record, slightly different to a limited company record, but the principles are still the same in the sense that this is the client central hub area with all of the different tabs, and this is how you would go about accessing it. Just to touch on a couple of the other different tabs within CCH Central. So this is the document center. And so what this is essentially an area in which you can store all of an individual's documents. Now, Ian mentioned it during his introduction. The document management system is essentially the integrated version. So you can store all of the documents that relate to this specific individual. And you can also attach your Outlook to be a part of it, so that if you were to want to, certain email addresses can then have all of the emails stored that are received into their client file automatically. And you can see I've got things like the one-click approval as well, which just shows which documents are currently pending and which ones have been e-signed. So that's also a useful field to look at. It does give me this preview pane as well, so I can just look at any of the documents that have been sent on the preview area over here. The message center as well. So we've just sent a message, and you can see here, this shows you any messages that have been sent and received between this entity and yourself. And this is also where you can create a message from scratch. So you don't have to use CCH accounts or anything like that to have the e-signatory or the approval option. It could just be an external document you then want them to assign or approve as well. And this message center is just a historical chat or historical message storage between you and that particular individual in this case. Workflow, we touched on workflow earlier, and this just highlights any workflows that are currently in use on this specific individual as well. Now we're just going to look at a personal tax return, just conscious of time, so I'm just going to come into this personal tax return now. And very much like the company accounts, you can send over a sole trader accounts into an individual's personal tax return. And so it will populate the business tax area of that personal tax return as well. We do have a status area as well. So if you were to want to report on the different statuses that you currently have within your tax return, you can come in here and we'll open up the status box. And you can see here, we've got various different sort of descriptions of statuses here, and if you wanted to, you can add in your own sort of description of the status and then report on that as well. Some of these statuses are automatic, so if you were to, for example, file to HMRC successfully, then the chances are it will show the accepted by FBI status automatically. Now, on the front cover here, you can see that document e-sign has just come through onto the CCH Central area there on the bottom right. Just gives you that little notification as well. So the SA302 on the front cover here is automatically updated. So if you were to make any changes within these different data entry screens, it will automatically update this calculation, and this is a live calculation as well. Just to give you an idea into some of the data entry screens and what they look like. So this is the land and property section. I'm just going to click within that, and you can see here you've got a standard sort of area in which you would enter the amounts, the gross rent received, and any expenses on that land and property as well. That's just one example. If you were to have an individual who is a partner of a partnership, or a trustee or a settlor or a beneficiary of a trust, then the information that you then send from the partnership tax return can be imported into that individual's tax return as well and populated with that relevant information. Likewise with the trusts. You can also view the tax return, and similar to the corporation tax, you can right click on any boxes and it will take you to that relevant place in which you need to enter that information. There are also various other reports which you may find useful in this section. It's worth looking into those if needed. So what I'm going to do now is just talk about the sort of automation features within a personal tax return. So we do have the digital tax account, and so that will import an individual's P60 information from HMRC, as well as their state pension and benefit information. That's typically available around August time of that tax year. And we also have available within our income from UK securities a FTSE 350 data feed. And so this essentially allows you to import any dividends that have been distributed throughout the year into an individual's tax return. Those come as standard within our personal tax module. Another really good feature is our tax return bundle. So I'm just going to select onto that tax return bundle now. And so here it lists all the pages that you then might want to send to that individual, either for approval via one click using this button, or if you were to want to just send it via email, absolutely, you can create a bundle as well. So it just details exactly what pages you want to include in that individual's tax return to then send to them. Now what I'm going to do is just create bundle, and the real good feature in this is what it does, it will bring out, or it can bring out the covering letter, and it will write the covering letter for you essentially. Now you can see here, it will bring through things like the payments on account for an individual, and also you have got this payment schedule at the back here. Now this is very much a customizable area. Of course, it would be your own company logo, your own sort of wording within this area as well. But it will cater for sort of every individual circumstance. So for example, if you were to have an individual who has a refund, just as an example, then it will change this entire sort of paragraph area, and it will just say you are due a refund, and this is how you would go about receiving it. So it's really useful, a really good time saver on the bundle. And then as you go down, you can see that's the payment schedule for this individual, and then you've got things like the SA 302 and then the actual tax return itself further down. It bundles it all up for you, and you can then send that to the client to be approved prior to then online filing. Great, and that's really all I was going to talk about on the the on-premise solution that we currently have available. What I'm going to do is just talk about our cloud suite now, and so I'm just going to select onto this AML tab. I'm just going to run an AML check on myself. So what this does, it will then take us into CCH iFirm. I then log in into my iFirm account. And so this is going to perform an AML check on this individual. Now I'm going to select a standard AML data check. The differences being the biometric check is a check of their identity. So what they would do, what would happen is your client would receive a text, and they would then upload a photo of their ID document. They would then be asked to perform like a selfie, if you like, from a mobile phone, and that would then be matched against their ID document, the biometrics of their face. And you would then get a copy just letting you know whether or not they have then passed or failed that particular test. So that's the difference between biometrics and the standard check. So the standard check we're going to perform now. So it brings out this information from CCH Central, so you don't have to populate this information. However, if something were to be incorrect, a spelling mistake perhaps, you can come into this area and make that correction in this section. So I'm just going to run that AML check. And so what it will do is just verify through different databases that that individual does live where they live and their date of birth is correct. It will also, we'll just have a look at the report now. It will also just check the electoral roll as to their address. And you can see the various checks that have been performed here. So date of birth, as I mentioned, PEP sanctions, so any politically exposed persons, any sanctions against them would be highlighted in this report. Adverse media as well, so any sort of publications in newspapers, that sort of stuff will all be shown in this area as well. It will also check the death register. Great, and that's the sort of report it will give you. That AML file will then be stored, so just flicking back into Central, into the AML tab here, and it will also be stored into the document center. So just to kind of touch on the other areas within our cloud suite, which is being built out as we speak. So we do have, just going to come into the sort of landing board here. So we do have quite a few products here available. So we have got a personal tax product within the cloud now as well. Just coming into that, and I'll just kind of give you an idea as to how that looks. Just selecting into client's file. So you would navigate around the sort of right-hand side at the moment, looking for the individual. You can see here it brings out the self-assessment area. Now you would then add the data fields you then want to include on this individual's record. Then you would then go about populating those different data fields here. So you'd come into your state pensions here and entering your various different amounts into these different sections. And that would then update the tax calculation here, which will be shown and constantly updated with that information that you would enter. You can download a PDF of that. You can also view the tax return as a whole, as you can in the on-premise solution as well. So that's a very quick view on the personal tax side of things. As I said, this is being built out as well, so soon it will include things like trust tax returns and partnerships as well. Just give you a quick idea onto how the accounts look as well, and we'll just have a quick look at that. I believe I've got myself here. And so this is just a sole trader set of accounts, but we do have things like an FRS 105 or a 102 type company available in the cloud now as well. It will just, on the front page, you've got this overview area, and it will just highlight any sort of validation areas that you might want to check as well. You have also got this financial overview section. So just to touch back on the validations, this is quite similar to the exception report. So, you've also got the ability to go directly into these exceptions as well and resolve those particular warning messages. You've also got this financial overview. You've got net profit ratio, and this is something that we'll be adding to as well. So just gives you a quick overview on that individual set of accounts as well. The import section, this is really the settings area. So you would set up various pieces of information, and you can then import your CSV file via this method. Soon there will be the ability to import via different bookkeeping softwares as well. So that will come shortly. And very similar to the on-premise solution, you've got your accounts disclosures area here, and you just go about filling out the different sections within this area, and that will then bring you through into your financial statements area. So we're keeping the same sort of principles that we have on the on-premise suite that we believe in, and our customers currently love, and then bringing them into the cloud for the reason of bringing it into the cloud essentially. And you can then flick through the various different pages, and the validations do check on each individual page as well, and will be highlighted in the red area here. And that was a very quick overview, just conscious of time. So I think that's pretty much it from myself, and I'll just be handing back to Ian at this point. Hope you found it useful.
Thanks, Doug. Really good overview of some of the benefits of moving across to CCH. If you just want to check the chat box, Doug, I have answered a couple of questions, but there's one there that you might want to have a quick look at just while I'm doing the wrap up. As I mentioned right at the start, we just take you and give you an overview of what that iFirm roadmap looks like. So hopefully you can see my screen. Doug, can you confirm you can see my screen?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, all good.
Thank you. So there you can see the roadmap. Doug has obviously shown us an overview of accounts production, personal tax, which you can see there on the commercial releases being in H2, and MTD for income tax as well is now available. So you can see how we're going to roll out the iFirm solution over the next 12 to 18 months or so. At the moment, as Doug has shown you, you can use some of the modules like AML in conjunction with Central. So you're using Central as your main hub still, but you're running out into a browser to run that AML check. And that is for the next few months how we will be introducing accounts production and personal tax hanging off the back of the on-premise CCH Central. But early part of next year, probably towards the end of this year, you'll see CCH Central as a central hub and a central database also moving into the iFirm solution. So just to give you an overview of where we are, obviously you've seen some screenshots. It's real and it's happening, and we're really excited about how the iFirm solution is developing. Just moving back into a bit more of sort of the present time in terms of moving to CCH Central, if that's something that you'd like to do. I'm just giving you some indication of what our onboarding program looks like. We have project management available for those practices that require project management. Some of the smaller moves from alternative software providers over to CCH doesn't necessarily need project management, but it's there, it's available, and obviously the larger practices do need a little bit of hand-holding. But alongside that project management, we have extensive implementation and data migration services, so data migration, moving information from your current provider across into CCH, so that you have that information from day one. We have an extensive e-learning library of training courses that come as part of your fees to CCH, as part of your sort of software fees. You will get access to the e-learning library, which is as I say, an extensive library of different courses that can help you in getting trained up on the CCH software. But you can choose to take individual training, whether that is face-to-face or whether that is more likely to be on Teams these days. But trainers are available to take you through predefined training courses that just give you that little sort of extra help when you're first using CCH. But the e-learning is really an excellent way of keeping your knowledge of CCH current, and also is really useful when you're bringing on new members of staff to your practice, that you can introduce them to CCH through the e-learning portal. Talking of portals, we have a support portal which enables you to go and raise your own ticket and request a callback, so you don't have to sort of call us and wait in the queue for your call to be answered. You can just raise your own ticket and then, as I say, request a callback. Somebody will give you a call back and take you through a response to any issues you might be having. And along those lines, we also have an extensive knowledge base which will help you with all the latest changes to CCH based on compliance and statutory changes. And as an option, and if you'd like to be involved in the future development of CCH, then we have regular regional user groups. I think the user groups are usually sort of, I think they're twice a year, although there might be one or two user groups that meet a little bit more regularly than that, but typically twice a year. And you'd be welcome to join up to the appropriate region. And then, as I say, you can get have a say into how CCH future development plans will be made. So we have had some questions. I think Doug has been typing away there and answering a couple of them. But we said we'd be an hour. My clock says 11:59, so I think we're pretty much spot on the timing. I hope you found it useful. As we've mentioned in the chat there, we will be in touch with you. So if you want some information with specifically, I guess, pricing, then pricing is something that we talk to customers on and prospects on a one-to-one basis, because as I've touched on with the packs and with the modular system that we have, pricing can be quite specific to your requirements and your needs. So there's no need for you to go and have software that you don't, modules that you don't use. You just buy the modules that you need to use. So on that basis, we'll be in touch with you following this session. And if you'd like to ask some more questions or get some information around the pricing, then obviously we'd be more than happy to discuss that with you on a one-to-one basis. But I hope you found this useful this morning. Many thanks to Doug for taking us through the demonstration, and many thanks to you for joining us, and in touch and speak to you soon. Thanks very much.